little more specific. I wasn't quite sure what part of that you were talking about, but we can definitely do that. And next time they come in, we might try to have lunch or something again and kind of get a little more detail. Any other questions for Wes? Seeing none, we'll move to our next item B, CVA Advertising and Marketing. Craig.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. Just as an update, the Permian Fuels America campaign continues to gain momentum. We're in the process of finalizing the second generation of spots that will go on the air. Those spots will focus on specific ways people can get help through our landing page and also through organizations here in Odessa. Recent spots had Peggy Dean talking about the COBAT program, which as of the end of the month, we're right at 400,000. So we probably won't keep those on the air too much longer because we will start to run out of funds. And at that point, we'll convert back to our original spots that we had produced. Podcasts, we're scheduled next Thursday, October 15th, to do a new series of podcasts, one featuring Kirk Edwards as representing the Permian Fuels America, Willie Tyler on workforce development, and then also Peggy Dean to do a wrap-up on COBAP. Television is full force again, thank goodness. You've been seeing our spots on the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock newscast on all the major networks and the Hispanic stations. And now we are full-blown into sports. It's empty in the stands, so people are watching sports on television, which is good for us. And we're appearing in NFL football, PGA golf, and Major League Baseball. Outdoor advertising, again, we will be switching from the COBAC program back to our original messages and then looking at developing a second second flight of new versions that we'll be putting up on our boards as well. Website metrics were up this month, which is a good thing. Sessions were up 10%, and users were up 12%. Social media, not quite as encouraging. It was a little bit up and down. Because we had such a strong August, September was a little bit weaker. But the good news is we continued to gain fans and impress a lot of people on Facebook. We were down a little bit this month, but we did continue to reach over 15,000 people with our Facebook page. Twitter was a little bit the same way. Metrics were down, and most of that's due to the lower number of tweets that we did this month. But we are right now closing in on 1,000 Twitter followers, which is quite a milestone. So we're very pleased about that. You'll see a recap of that information at the bottom of the report, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Craig, you said that the social media is starting to gain.
It is gaining. It was a little bit soft this month, Tim, because we had a strong August. But some of our important numbers in social media continue to climb, which is encouraging. And we'll be putting out more tweets this coming month.
Okay. Any other questions?
The ones that got most traction.
Uh-huh. Okay. Also, Craig, I want to thank you for taking the pictures. We had there was a legislative reception at the club, and Craig was there to take some pictures. We had Jody Arrington and Mike Conway and August Pfluger were the three that were there that we had a chance to ask some questions and everything, and appreciate you taking those pictures. And now I'm assuming that's added to our Fuels America and some of those.
You bet. You bet. We can utilize those photographs any way that we want to, Mr. Edson. So we're in good shape there.
Okay. All right. Moving on, if there's no other questions for Craig, the Black Chamber of Commerce, Gloria Wright, are you on? I take that as not on here.
She should be on. I believe I've admitted her, so she may be muted.
She is there. It looks like she is muted.
Yeah, she's muted.
Can y'all unmute her, or is it she have to do that?
I've asked her to unmute, so.
Okay. let's give her a second. While she's giving her a second, I need to let the rest of the board know we've got a situation we need to take a look at. We had a question from the Black Chamber. Gloria, I think, called Wes and Cindy this last week and wanted to know when she was going to get her funding. And basically, the contract that they signed is a contract where it's like the CVA contract because it's out of marketing. And Robert, correct me if I get off track here, but it's a contract where it's a reimbursement. And I think the Black Chamber and probably is going to be the same situation with the Hispanic Chamber is in order to get their money, it's on a reimbursement plan. So I've asked Robert if it's possible to switch that to pay accordingly, like the Odessa Chamber of Commerce, where they get each quarter they get a check, but we've got to check into the way we've got that set up. Because we're taking out a marketing money, we've got to make sure that we can set it up that way. And I want to talk. So Robert's checking into that, and I'd like to get with Cindy and Robert before the next meeting to see if that's a possibility to change that, if we can, and if we can, what other issues or problems that might cause. But I hope she can hear me to let her know that we are addressing that, and we will get back with her in the next couple of weeks as we get our information. Is that fair, Robert?
I think that's a fair assessment. When we talked about this and we talked about that the programs that they presented were more geared toward the marketing of things. And so we decided to pull it out of the marketing budget. We did place that under the way that CVA's contract is set up as more of a marketing contract because they didn't present a specific economic development plan. 504, 102 does lay out how we can contract with entities. There is the very end of 102, which says to accomplish any purpose. So ultimately, it would be up to the board. But as far as our conversation went prior to that, the reason that we put it under marketing and gave them each $50,000 was because the board felt that it was more that they were going to help out on a marketing side on getting the word out more than that. And so that's why that CVA contract or the advertising style contract and the payment for that was built in rather than paying them quarterly as the other contractors are paid.
Well, if it's the board's pleasure, let's get our facts together and get back to everyone and see if we can, what's the best way we can accommodate that situation, if everybody's okay with that. Yes.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Yeah, I would suggest, since they are new to this process, that we provide them some upfront money, seed money, or whatever you want to call, so that they can actively get started and then reimburse as they go along. I would certainly be in favor of doing something like that, since they are new to the overall process.
Yes, I agree, Gene. What we've done is we sent them a contract stating exactly how it's going to be done, and they signed the contract and sent it back. And then now that's why we've got to redo that contract. I think we can reach our goal. I just got to make sure we can do it with all in the right way, if you will. I agree with you. I think it's not going to help them out if they have to do something and get reimbursed, because the situation is what they're doing is new to their deal, and they need some money. They need some seed money to get started. And I think we're going to have the same problem with the Hispanic Chamber, but we just need to make sure that we can do it the right way and set it up. So if Robert and I'll get with Cindy and the three of us will get together and figure out if there's a way to do that and get back to the board members. And we don't have to wait till the next meeting. I think we can get, I don't think we have to have a Zoom, but let me get the results and see if we can make that change. And then we can have Wes send it out to all the board members and get their vote yay or nay and go forward. But
Tim, Gloria did text me and said she could hear you and understands.
Okay. All right. So does that, I think I'm on the same page as you are, Gene. I just got to make sure how we do it and do it the right way without getting our hands slapped, if you will. And I think,
So-
talking to Robert, I think we may be able to, but he was going to do some research, and I was talking to him 30 minutes ago, and I said, this is the way we'll handle it on the meeting today, and he'll get back to us, and I'll get back to Cindy and make sure that's what we want to do, get back to all the board members.
So
other-
I'm going to stop sharing and let each entity share their screen on their own. That way it'd make it a little bit easier for us to keep track, because I can't really do the agenda and back and forth. So I may do that. So if anybody has an issue with that, let me know, but we'll go from here on that. Tyler, Cindy.
All right. Okay. Chris and Melanie, is that okay with y'all? Let's get our facts together and get back on that situation. You okay? I take no response means they're not against it. So.
Melanie did shake her head.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All right. Let's go to UTPB American Tyler Patton. I think Tyler's on.
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you take a look at the report that was submitted, I'll just go down a couple of highlights, and this also coincides with our year end. So I'll hit a couple of highlights on that as well. For the month, we had 741 counseling sessions. That's still well above our normal average. We had 11 seminars or workshops presented this month. Many of those were related to PPP, EIDL, and other business issues related to COVID-19. At 126 attendees, we had 2 new businesses started in September. One of those was a health clinic. The other one was a moving company. We did a little over 3.29 million in capitalization for the month, and a total of 24 additional FTEs added in the area. That's, again, that's total area. That's not just Odessa. If you look under the cumulative column, that's our total for the fiscal year that just ended compared to the year before, the fiscal year before. I just want to point out a couple of highlights. Our counseling sessions were actually up by 26%. That in spite of having to do everything virtually for about 3 months. Our total capitalization was up 44%. And then our capitalization specifically for Odessa only was actually up by 147%. So I was quite pleased with those numbers. We continue to remain very busy, not only with companies needing help with the disaster loans and funds, but also a lot of people who had, you might call them side gigs, who had been laid off from their primary job and are now trying to take those businesses full time. We've had quite a few of those. So that's really looking nice. We've also had quite a few people come in here trying to acquire businesses or sell an existing business. So that we're getting quite a bit of activity in those 2 areas in particular. Any questions?
The numbers for the last year to this year is pretty impressive there, Tyler.
Well, thanks. I mean, unfortunately, the COVID situation spurred much of that. We still would have exceeded last year's numbers even without it, but that's what pushed it to this point. But as I also want to say, it's due to the support of y'all, of the ODC board, that we're able to do this.
Any questions for Tyler? Okay, not hearing any. We'll go
Thank you.
to next on the item, Motran. Is James or Dustin with us? Which one?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Okay.
We'll start out with a broadband update. We are finalizing our supplementary report. We had produced that previous report a few months ago with kind of some of the base findings that y'all tasked us with. And we've since then put together some supplementary information that we plan on releasing that has some information that we sent out. We had a survey sent out to folks. We had some of the folks in the chamber and everywhere else talk about the speeds, where they're at and their levels of connectivity. And we've also been meeting with some of these ISPs, or the internet service providers, and getting some of their information. So we're going to also have some fiber maps and some connectivity maps, cell tower maps to include in that report for y'all. We plan on sending that out as soon as we finish it up. It should be done in the next few days. And then we'll be also presenting that to City Council next week. On those same lines, like I said, we've been meeting with those service providers and talking about what their plans are for the future. And a lot of it is very positive. There's a lot of money given out in CAF grants, and some of these providers already have plans to come in and to boost the level of service that we have. We also have some fiber coming in and some other wireless connections. So the picture does look good. So what we are going to do is next week we send out an invite to everybody for our digital webinar, where we're going to be disclosing some of our findings in our report, as well as what Big Bend Telco is doing. They have that data center out here by us that basically every one of these providers we're talking to is plugging into in some capacity, and how beneficial that data center is going to be for the entire Permian Basin. And then also we're going to be having next another provider who's going to be talking about what their plans are and all the investments that they're going to be bringing out here. And there is some very positive news, and it should yield some good results on that front. Well, in the conversations with them, something that they want to do is they already have plans to invest out here, and what they really need is us to just help facilitate some conversations. And so the following week, we plan on having, over at the Odessa Marriott, perhaps a breakfast where we bring in those different service providers, some of those guys in their departments for the emerging market departments, where they come in and talk to some of our elected officials, with Wes, with some of our tenant businesses and some of these entities, to talk with them. That way they can say, hey, we're going to be running a fiber line over here. Maybe there can be some synergies that match up. And we want to facilitate that. Really, they're happy to have these conversations. We're actually the first community that they've said has actually reached out to them about how we can help to facilitate the growth and development. And from that, we've actually had them say, yeah, we can help service perhaps a West Odessa, perhaps a Greenwood area in Midland. And so just by having these conversations alone and kind of pointing out where there's some underserviced areas, we're seeing some results. And that's all free. We haven't had to spend any money on that. So there are some positivities there. So we are going to send out that invite as soon as we've nailed down some of the participants, and we'll send that out to everybody who can join. It would be great for the folks at the Development Corporation to join us, and we'll send that out. On a more roadway front, we are finalizing the Permian Basin freight study, which has been that long study that has talked about what the freight picture looks like in the Permian Basin. I've previously said that that showed that we had over 100,000 commercial motor vehicle truck trips that have not been counted daily, and that was one of the big findings. Another big finding that we're going to really hit on going forward is that we in the Permian Basin are responsible for 30% of the freight tonnage in the state of Texas. And that's a huge number. It's nearly a third of all freight tonnage is out here. And that was a previously unknown number. And so our freight formulas, the amount of money we get, and all those types of things are going to be affected by those numbers. And so that's a very positive development. That's the one that's ran by Judge Hayes. And we are in works with them on that freight study about gathering the final, study points there together. Additionally, we've been working with the folks who are running the study on what out of this Permian Basin general freight study, what we want studied going forward. And one of those asks that we submitted early on in the process that is now being finalized is they're going to be looking at that Craddock reliever route, which currently extends from 349 in Midland over to 1788 as a relief route. Is they're looking at extending that one eastward from 349 over to I-20, and then also westward from that 1788 over to Loop 338. And that's something that's that TxDOT's kind of in favor of. It's something that we've spoken to folks on the Odessa side about. That could be a very positive way of connecting the two communities, providing an additional relief route. So that is getting put in the study. Another thing that is getting put in the study from an Ector County perspective is some West Odessa.
I lost you there. Wes, can you hear me?
I can, Dustin, you're locked up. I can't help you. It was a good report.
Shorter than we thought it was going to be.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, and then when we get Dustin back up, we can finish up with him because I do have a question for him. But Cindy,
Cindy,
yes.
do you want me to share everything and then you share your screen for the investment policy, or do you want to take it from here?
I wonder if we've lost more than just Dustin.
You can scroll down to the financial report for me, please.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Good afternoon, board. This is your August financial statements. We have 56.2 million in investments with a little bit of interest receivables. Our accounts payable is 150,000. This is still the amount payable on the 2018-19 business challenge. It's one award winner that's left, and they have started that process. So hopefully that money will be being spent. We've got a total reserved of 14.9 million. You will see that we've added in the Apergy and the additional UTPB grant for the 2.1 million. Your assigned amount for TxDOT still sits at 9.1. The housing infrastructure, we had about 10,000 paid out to Tar Heel during August, so that's sitting at 4.976 for a total fund balance of 56,000. So for the month of August, cumulative to date, revenues from sales tax, 11,299,061. We did receive in 749,000 for the month of September, so we did make budget. I think we talked about that at the last meeting. We just got our October check in, and it's $777,209. Expenditures to date total 5.8 million, and so we have an excess of revenues over expenditures currently of 6.1. The next page shows the change in reserves for the month, and it was just the addition of those two grants that were awarded. And then the following page shows transactions with our investments and pools from month to month. And then the following two pages gives you beginning of the month and end of the month investments. So we had a rather large investment of 5 million mature during the month. So it went into our money market account at Frost, and we are looking at some investment strategies for that right now. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Cindy? Is Dustin back on? Or is he?
Yeah, I'm back. Speaking of broadband issues, I guess I lost connection there.
Okay, that's not the question. I think you were about through your report if you need to add to it. But the one question I have, that I've got Cindy on here, on this broadband and Wi-Fi and everything, haven't y'all been sharing this or helping ECISD as well? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah. So it has been it's a kind of a convoluted relationship. We did help provide them with the basic information. We met with their contractors who are out of New Jersey, who are looking into this topic, and so we have met with them via Skype, Zoom, whatever it may be. We provide them information. They utilize that in their basic report. And so they have utilized that. We kind of differ in some of the findings, but we're trying to work with them on it. They are kind of wanting to put together a task force, and I guess they've been moving forward a little bit. That's why we're wanting to speed up and kind of facilitate these conversations, because there may not be some of the steps that they're saying are necessary. Some of those may not need to actually take place. We may not need to spend the money that they're talking about spending. One of the basic findings is they said 2 out of 5 students don't have internet access. Well, our findings are that 99% of Ector County actually does have access to broadband level speeds. And only 2.7% of their kids were in school on day one. And those kids were the ones that didn't have internet access or were special ed kids. So we're wanting to make sure we get all the numbers there. We want to bring those numbers to the providers. We're trying to work with them on it. They have a different timeline, different goals with this this contractor that, like I said, they hired out of New Jersey. They're wanting to take this thing in a certain direction. Ours has not always been that direction. Ours is more, let's facilitate these conversations, see where private development can go, and see where we can just initiate conversations and make connections. As far as what ECISD is doing, that's about all I got for you.
Well, the reason I asked that is because I think they've come to us, and Wes and Cindy can help me on this. They've come to us requesting some funds that we're having a hard time getting to qualify under economic development. And then they're also coming to council. They went to council and got some money for all the laptops. And I'm just wondering if we need to, and we provide you money to help do that, and you're helping them from that end. And at some point in time, I need to make sure that we're keeping track of what we're doing and we're not duplicating anything, if you will. So on the Cindy, on the 100,000, what was that? It's roughly $100,000 they're requesting, Wes and Cindy. Is that?
That was the letter that was sent to ODC. And basically it was, that letter was referring to 135 connections in the south part of the county. I'm not sure, but I think we were told that's like in the Pleasant Farms area. Mm-hmm. They came to the city and presented Tuesday, a request for some funds to help reimburse them for laptops and iPads or whatever they purchased. And it's to match a grant that they can get. The council is still considering what amount they will be funding that. I don't have that amount yet, but I think their request was like $985,000. So.
Okay.
And it's coming out of our CARES funding that we are receiving.
Okay. All right. And I'm not too sure. Wes, I think we asked with legal, and legal is struggling to figure out how we can legally do that. I know we're trying to help them all we can, but I also want to make sure we're not duplicating things with 3 different entities that from the same pile of money, if you will. Is that a fair statement, Cindy and Wes? Or?
Yeah, I think we were trying to make sure the sales tax was going to be used for a legal thing, plus be able to connect it to infrastructure directly, or job creation, or workforce training. And that's where the struggle was finding it directly tying to those things that we can use the funds for. So
Robert, Robert, were you involved in, or was it Natasha, or both, or have you got any comments on this?
We just, right now, I think you sort of, I'll just brush across the same thing. We're just struggling right now with how we tie it in. As of right now, as a Type A corporation, we can either take on projects that help our workforce, or we can take on projects, infrastructure, as long as it's tied to newer, expanding business enterprises in some way. The problem we're struggling with is it's difficult to sort of fit that into, and in our struggle, it's more also how do we craft a contract for that? Because our contracts essentially say one of two things: either A, we've built this infrastructure for someone to come in and they've been building houses and we pay that out afterward, or they promise that over 5 years they'll hold on to a certain number of jobs and make a certain amount of investment, but there's not a company. There's a company willing to put those satellites over and try and make sure that 135 homes have internet, but we can't tie that into, they're not really bringing any jobs here, and they're not investing any money. They're really just sort of providing that internet over that area. So we're really trying to figure out how we can help them. It's not that we don't want to help them, but we do still have to follow the guise of the local government code. So
can this be and just a thought, and I know maybe this is not the time to ask this question, but since we have a constant number 8 on the agenda, emergency assistance options related to COVID-19 pandemic, could it be related to that in some way? Is there a way to tie it back to an emergency situation the board deems feasible?
And I would think that even though we put that on there, emergency assistance, it's still got to fit somewhat to the 4A category. I mean, that's the whole corporations, what we have to follow for the whole corporation. So,
Hey, so Tim, Robert, Wes, is this a request that's coming directly from the school district themselves?
Yes.
And this isn't in reference to their long-term strategy, which would be infrastructure costs. This is immediate needs that they need for hardware. Am I understanding correctly?
This is a hardware issue in order to explore a possible concept that could be a solution in the future, a satellite-related Wi-Fi program.
And Chris, we've looked into, because infrastructure is something that really popped into our heads. The issue with any sort of infrastructure is you have to tie into those new and expanding business enterprises. So the AG put out an opinion quite a while ago that talks about they wanted to put in infrastructure, but in current or existing houses. And I think it was plumbing. They wanted to replace lines underneath houses, not tied to the city's water lines, but where that break comes where essentially your water lines become yours at your house versus the city's lines. And the AG was of the opinion. Now, the board could eventually decide that that's what they want to do, but it would be reviewed if they had decided to do that under an abuse of discretion, because we have to be able to tie it in somehow. And the AG had suggested that they don't see how something like that could tie in to an existing structure like a house or anything else, any sort of infrastructure being placed under some sort of existing structure. So that's where, because immediately we didn't think business development or workforce, we thought infrastructure, that internet. Now I would tie internet into almost any infrastructure, but this is not for a new or expanding business enterprise. These are for existing houses and for 135 houses with ECISD students.
Okay, no, I get it. And I'm really asking the question because I'm part of that task force as well. And so some of that was new information, but it sounds like it's more of to help with an immediate need more so than it is the future of creating a wide infrastructure that businesses will be able to benefit from, workforce would be able to benefit from, homes would be able to benefit from, and so forth, which I'm just hoping that we can help when they get to that much larger picture when it's all said and done. But that may be a discussion for another day.
You're correct, Chris, on what you just said.
Yeah, the big picture of that deal, you're going to hit some of the issues we have to address to qualify for that money. But my concern too is they've gone to the council, they've come to us, and we're giving money to Motran that's helping in that deal. I just want to make sure we weren't duplicating anything. And I think if we can get more information, try to get this and see if there's a way we can help them, but not just. But right now, I don't. I'm going with what I'm hearing from legal, in accounting, I don't think we're there yet. We got some more work to do to get paid under that. And I'm not too sure if that under that CARE deal, because you can tie that to the CARE situation, that maybe the city could help them on through that CARE fund. I don't know how much money is left in that or anything like that. But that was my main concern, is it seems like we're getting hit from every direction on that. So any other questions or comments? I don't think we need to vote on anything there. We do need to vote if there's not any questions on our financials. I'd entertain a motion to accept those.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second. And Melanie or
Second.
second, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Cindy, you're up on considering the resolution.
Yes, this item, board, is for adoption of the investment policy for the city of Odessa and the Odessa Development Corp. It's a policy that we use for both entities. This is required by the Texas Public Funds Investment Act, Chapter 2256 of the Texas Government Code. We have to take it before the board for approval every year. The only thing that changed from last year's policy to this year's policy is the date, October 1, 2020. There were no changes in the state act, so there was no need for any changes to our policy. This was approved by the city council on their part at the September 22nd meeting, and so I just need approval from the board, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Cindy on this resolution? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion from Chris, second from Melanie. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wesley, you're back up on number 5.
Yes, sir. That is an ask for an amendment or a change of the structure for the contract that you approved a month ago for Apergy or Champion X. They have asked, just as background on this, this came to y'all as a 3-year breakdown. You changed to a 5, which gave a longer commitment. The total grant is $1 million. Over 5 years. They're not asking for a change in the total. They are asking for a change in the breakdown. Right now, if you can see the current agreement shows 300, 200, 200, 200, and 100. They would like the first year to be 400, then 2 years of 200, and then 2 years of 100. It does make for a larger payment end of year 1, and do remember that there is no payment until they perform, and all of the jobs come in the first year. So their ask is to restructure this. There's not been an agreement executed, so this is still a deal that legal said, if the board approved, could still be changed. The total will stay the same. The jobs will stay the same. The capital investment and payroll will stay the same. The only change would be for year 1 to 400, and year 4 and 5, or year 4 to 100. So there is a $100 difference in 2 years. But again, I think it was a fair question to ask. I did let them know I would bring it before the board to ask for your thoughts and consider that for going forward. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Hey, Wes, real quick, remind me, how long has this company been around?
Quite a while. I don't have the year, Chris, but probably 10 plus.
Okay.
At least in Odessa. And this is a consolidation of their Midland facility into Odessa. They have 107 current employees they'll maintain, and add 20 to that in their Odessa facility. And pretty much bring all the ones from Midland into their Odessa facility.
Wes, originally this was a 3-year deal and we asked them to go to 5. I think David Boutin requested that, correct?
Correct. Compliance came out with a 3-year deal. I think it was, I don't remember the breakdown, but it was 350, and 3, I think. So we split that to a 5-year deal after the last meeting. The total has never changed. We just broke it out further. This is, again, just a tweak to that. If the board has the pleasure to do that or not, it's up to y'all.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I need a motion to accept this amendment.
I'll move.
Okay, Melanie, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Passes.
Appreciate your support. Robert, does this need to go back to council for their approval as well, or is this, the total is the same, and the years are the same? Just let me know.
I believe it does have to go back to council because they would have to approve this on top of this. I think that's what Cindy and I discussed, and I think that's what we had decided. Now, I will tell you, I have to go debrief from a fairly important hearing that the city just had. Does anyone else have any other questions regarding any other part of the agenda? I'll get on that Apergy contract. We were going back and forth on some other provisions, but that should be no problem to change. We can get that on with the city this upcoming week.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Robert, that's fine if you need to go to that debriefing. I don't see anything else I think we're gonna need legal advice on. So
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right, thank you. Now our committee reports, partnership here again hasn't met. Taxes hit Melanie, and I don't think any of these committees are meeting right now, are they?
No.
Okay, advertising, Gene and I haven't met in the last month. Chris and Gene on any of your committees, I don't think y'all have met either, is that correct?
That would be affirmative.
Okay. Then we'll go down.
I would like to say there's
Okay.
a lot of,
Go ahead,
I just
Gene.
would say there's a lot of discussion from the debates. I'm really looking forward after the election with all these ideas that have come up on how to change downtown.
Okay. Moving down to item 7, discuss in-person meetings versus continuing virtual meetings. My understanding is that council has gone back to meeting in person. They've moved it to a couple other places, but I think the last one last night or Tuesday night was in the chambers. So I'll open up. That doesn't mean we have to, but I'll open it up for any comments from our board members as what if you prefer one or the other. Any comments?
Yeah, Tim, this meeting by Zoom is kind of handy.
You like that?
Hell, I'm not saying that's what I want to do. And there may be certain reasons for us all to get together, but man, this is sure pretty dadgum nice and handy. I wonder if maybe we just ride out the rest of the year and we look at doing that maybe the first part of next year.
That was my I was going to recommend. Things are still a little volatile out there. Let's finish out the year virtual, and then the first meeting next year we'll consider. And I'm not too sure we don't do a combination. Once a quarter we meet everybody together and virtual in between, as a thought to think about. Any other comments on that? I'm going to say we're going to continue through the end of the next two meetings will be virtual, and we'll decide on the last meeting what we want to do the 1st of January. Is that fair?
I'm good with that.
I
Sounds
like
good.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Melanie, okay?
Yep.
Okay. Emergency assistance options related to COVID-19. Is there anything anyone needs to bring up? Okay, I'll move to the task force report. Everything is, Kirk is not with us today, but everything is moving forward. We're getting great results. I think Craig even will agree with his report that things are moving. We need to, I talked to Kirk, we need to keep going strong. We had, I know Jody Arrington, I met Tuesday night. He's a representative out of Lubbock, and he has been promoting us in Washington, D.C. Via a radio, some type of radio program he has that he's working with up there. He was given an award by one of the energy companies as the oil and gas champion of the year, or the champion, or designated as that. And he's going to be key to, I think we're going to hear a lot more from him, and it's another voice. They have also gotten their little coalition of people around here, Eastern New Mexico, Oklahoma, and they're all pushing our Permian Fuels America. So I think that's going to help us quite a bit. And then on the next meeting, we'll get a more live update. One thing that I think we all met with this one company that Wes is working with right now. If that comes through, that would be even, that ties right into what we're doing. It would be a good influx of positive stuff. So we'll continue to have an update report on that each month so we can keep track of how we're going and what's going on. As David Boutan said, I know he's not on here, this is going to be a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I think we're set up to get some positive things moving our way. And I think we're going to start seeing some results. So, it's probably going to be after the election. And then after the election, depending on how that comes out, is the direction we go. So, and it's going to be an issue either way. So if anyone has any questions on that, otherwise I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
A motion to adjourn. And I need a second from Gene. All in favor, I signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll look forward to next month. And I'll probably be some contact on a couple of issues we discussed. We may be on the two chambers. I'll be getting in touch with you on that. One last thing, Norma, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. At the meetings we've had in person, you've always got me signing 15 pages of something. And I haven't signed anything in the last two. Do I need to make a trip to your office to?
Yes, please. I've got some documents you need to sign. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to verify that. I thought that. Thank you very much. All right. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.